Approach to catch people. You get. Also, man. What would they?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again for the LYP, which is the League of Young Professionals virtual session. This is thankfully our last virtual session for the year, and we're super delighted to have you on board. Thank you for making out the time this morning. And we understand that it's pretty early for some people, but we are grateful regardless that you were able to join us. And we actually can guarantee that you're gonna have like a pretty good time. So yes, we have one speaker on board, and that's the very delightful Pastor Funke Kasali. She's on the call, ready to kick it. We are waiting for the other speaker. We understand that they are having quite a glitch. Hopefully that's resolved like really soon and they can join us. But just before we get started, I know the proverb that says the earlier the bird eats like the fattest worms. Thankfully, all of you that have joined right at this moment are privileged to participate in the draw that we have going. So for those who don't really know, and for Pastor Funke, a bit of more context, we are a buzzing community. We pretty much like to have fun. We don't like to suffer. We like to reward ourselves. We like to have a good time. And we tend to make these sessions like very interactive. very rewarding for those who join. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. So like we mentioned in all of our communications throughout the week, you stand a chance, everyone on this call, except from those who are on the excos and our very delightful speaker, the rest of you stand a chance to win some pretty cool prizes. So before I get started, we're just going to run a quick raffle draw. If you are part of our lucky winners that would receive this, congratulations, your Saturday is about to get lit. Yeah, so just a second, let me just kick that off right away. And so we can get started. Awesome. All right, are we all set? Say your prayers, because one person is about to go home with some cool cash. 5,000 naira actually would be credited to your account if our will selects you. So we're going to get started. Please know that this has not been preset. It's not a template. We're doing it live, so there's no mago, no cheating or any of that. It's a fair process. And if I select your name, I'll definitely be in contact with you via email and for you to receive your awesome prize. All right, let's get started. I always have this. Okay, so congratulations, Ibikunle Stephen. I would be in contact with you right after the session to get your details and reward you for all of your prize. Our second speaker is live on the call, and then we are gonna kick this off like right away. Thank you so much. Okay, so good. Just to confirm that Mr. Ben Akabweze is live on the call. Sir, do you mind unmuting? We have gone ahead to mute you, rather make you a co-host, so you can unmute and mute as well. Perfect. Pastor Funke, do you mind unmuting so that we can just position our screen and have you set up right away? Perfect. Pastor Funke, can you hear us clearly?
Yes, I can. I've muted my mic.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Ben, can you hear us? I don't seem to find
Yes, I can hear you. I'm trying though to log on to sign in through my laptop, because it will be easier for me to share my screen from there.
Oh,
but
perfect.
It was taking long, so I just signed on to the iPad while I continue to try.
No worries, that's perfect. So it's a privilege to have you on board and on this call. It's a privilege, Matt, to have you on this call. We have been itching and waiting for the last 1 month to have both of you, and thankfully this has happened. And just to give you a bit of context, we are a buzzing community. We ask quite a lot of questions. We're very inquisitive, eager for knowledge, and that's why we said, okay, the perfect people to address are bureaucracy and office politics related questions are you two, and that's why we have you on board. And thank you for honoring our invitation. We understand it's like really early, and with your schedule, we're so delighted to have you on the call. So without wasting any more time, we're going to jump right at this. And just before we start, our community they've been seeing your pictures, they know who you guys are. So we're going to just ask you to do a brief introduction of yourselves, what you currently do, and pretty much like an intro or your high-level thoughts about office politics. Like they say, ladies first, so my apologies, sir. I will have to go with Pastor Funke. Pastor Funke, you can lead the way.
Excellent. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's just so wonderful. It's a pleasure for me to be here to just share this platform again with Pastor Ben. And thank you all for the invitation to be here. My name, as you all know, is Adefunke Sharon Kasali. I'm a pastor, but also a professional. I graduated with a degree in accounting and an MBA in finance and MIS. So I've worked in the accounting industry, then Arthur Anderson, then worked in the oil and gas. Actually, most of my career was spent in the oil and gas industry with ExxonMobil, and the Joint Development Authority with Sao Tome and Principe, Nigeria, the Petroleum Equalization Fund. Right now, I run my own businesses. Yay, it's wonderful to do that and to, to put all my 30, almost 40 years worth of experiences to good use for myself. And it's wonderful to be here. I spent a total of about 11 years in the federal government, two basically federal government agencies, one at the very helm of one of the organizations, one as a senior manager. So of course, I've been an executive director in an ExxonMobil regional setup as well. And so I'm very well versed, I think, with office politics and of course the bureaucracy that happens in government especially. So it's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Pastor Funke. I couldn't have done that better, even if I had prepared for weeks. But thank you for just really being detailed and super open about your experience. And yes, that's why we selected you for this session, because you've seen it all in the private sector, seen it all in the public sector. So really, who better to take us on this journey? Mr. Ben, we are all set. You mind introducing yourself and your thoughts on office politics?
Well, first of all, let me begin by thanking the organizers and the leadership of the ministry under which, this is, happening. I know that for today, Pastor Funke and I are being addressed as guest speakers. I'm not so sure she's a guest speaker. Maybe I'm the only one entitled to be called guest speaker today. So I'd like to thank her also for this privilege of being invited and for sharing this platform. I don't know if you guys did this on purpose or you chose two accountants. Accountants are some of the most boring people on the face of the earth, according to some people. And usually when it comes to office politics, accountants can't keep out of it because somehow everything revolves around money.
Exactly.
So whether you like it or not, somehow you get dragged into it. So maybe that's what qualified us. But basically, I graduated also with a degree in accounting from the great Unilag, and that was nearly 40 years ago, 39 years ago now. And I've had a career post NYSC spanning all of 38 years, out of which 23 was in the private sector. And I more or less stumbled into the public sector and thought I was just dipping my foot in there to, pay my dues and rush right back to familiar territory, the private sector. But somehow I've been stuck here from Lagos State government, where I served as Commissioner for Economic Planning. But so my career in the private sector started in audit and consulting with Pricewaterhouse, and then I went on, switched to banking, and I worked in 5 different banks, starting with Citibank, NIB as it was then called, and then I was CEO of Nile Merchant Bank, became Nile Bank, and then left banking and joined Lagos State. And then since 2016, I've been with the federal government. I'm currently the Director General Budget Office of the Federation. But in all this while also, I had the privilege of pastoring. I've been an ordained pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God since 1994. And I currently serve as pastor in charge of Lagos Province 39 of the RCCG. Thank you. And I'm joining you this morning from London.
Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. That makes it better. Like, you see, our community, we pulled like the top guys. Like, that's what we really did. Okay, so without wasting any more time, we're going to dive right into the questions. So for our speakers, it's going to be a little bit different because we tend to do things quite differently around here. So we threw the question open to our community early last week, and then we just had them sending their questions. And so pretty much you guys are going to be playing professional advisors for our community. So we already have them share the questions, and I'll just issue them to you, and then whatever you feel comfortable with, you just take right on and just give us like the best and the most professional answer possible. All right. So community, if I do not pick your questions, please forgive me. We had quite a lot. So yeah. All right. So first off, we're going to take this from Tade, and it says, how do I know the parts to play in office politics and how not to get myself burnt or be losing on any side? Pastor Funke, would you mind taking this on?
All right. No, I don't mind at all. How do I know? I think the first thing that everyone's got to realize is that politics, office politics exists. Whether you're in private sector, whether you're in the public sector, it exists, right? So you always need to know that at the back of your mind, that you're going into a situation, especially as you begin to rise to middle-level management, it's going to be there staring at you. People like to have people on their own sides, right? So what I would say is, first of all, whatever you do, let your core values drive you. Because when you get into office politics, sometimes things can get pretty nasty, right? If you like somebody, or somebody that you like, that likes you, is in competition, it's not going to be very long before you begin to see the other party as an enemy and their own people, right? So you've got to understand a few things. Number one, it exists. Number two, your values. What are your core values? Number three, things change. And even some of the best well-laid plans, you think that this is the side that's going to win, and then this side wins. So what I would say is, look, let your values drive you, right? Understand what your values are. And then be strategic. Be strategic in the sense that you need to do your work. Make sure your work speaks for you at all times. If your work speaks for you, and you let everybody know that you're about your work, but you cannot stay out of politics. I'm going to be apolitical, especially as you go higher. I don't think anybody can be like, oh, you stay on the sideline in that kind of way. However, you must be fair. You must be fair, do your work, be fair, support the people that have your core values, right? Because if you go and support this person because you think they're doing something and then it turns, then you've made enemies. As much as possible, be fair, right? Do your work, be consistent in what you believe. Consistency is so key, and people don't realize when you show up the same way every day. Don't try and, be this face to this person and this face to that person. How do you stay on the winning side? You stay on the winning side by doing the right thing. That's how you can win. Do the right thing always. Do what's consistently you, consistently good. Work hard, right? And if there is a need to vote or be part of a vote, vote your conscience all the time. Don't try and bring somebody down because you don't like them. But if they're doing the right thing, be with the right side. That's what I would say briefly. And I'm sure Pastor Ben has much more to add to that.
Thank you so much, Pastor Kasalu. And Pastor Ben, just before you touch on the question, on that particular question, I want to merge it a little bit with another question, which actually touches on core values. So it pretty much is asking, office politics are a fact of life in any organization. Is it possible to promote yourself and your cause without compromising your values or those of your organization? Pastor Ben?
Well, thank you, Joy. I think that Pastor Funke got us off nicely on this subject, and this your tag on to the question also makes a point that office politics is an inevitability for for anyone in an organization. Politics, in the dictionary definition that is applicable in this case to politics is, politics refers to activities aimed at improving someone's status or increasing power within an organization. Politics is defined as activities aimed at improving someone's status or increasing power within an organization. Clearly, it's the aspiration of everyone for their status within the organization to improve over time in their career, and that's there's nothing wrong with that aspiration. Okay, so the point then is you've got to decide. Okay, so office politics is inevitable, but and this is a Christian platform, so I believe that I'm speaking to Christians, so that's the assumption that I make here. And so the question therefore is not whether, but how. It's not whether I can get involved in office politics, but how. And I think Pastor Funke made a point about values. As believers, we have a value system that is driven by our faith and the precepts of our faith, and that cannot change. There are too many schizophrenic Christians who are different persons at work and different persons in church. So at work, if you mention that they were Christians, people will go, because they clearly don't operate by Christian values or precepts at work. Okay, so for me, of course, first private sector, and again, as Funke said earlier, office politics is real both in the private and public sector. So I've experienced it in both, and all of my time in the public sector, of course, I've been as a political appointee. So that throws me right into it's not by designation. I'm called a political appointee. So I cannot even claim not to be involved with the politics. Again, today the world labels people like me as politically exposed persons. So I'm a PEP. It used to be the case that, 7 years after serving in government, you were freed of the label as a PEP. Today now, the world has agreed that once you're a PEP forever. So I'm a politically exposed person forever, wherever I go out the world. But for me, therefore, if politics is about the activities associated with improving one's status or increasing power within an organization, what are those methods for a believer that are acceptable for you to play this politics to seek to improve your status and power within the organization by? And in my opinion, and I think as Funke said so also, it is the quality of your work. Okay, when you put up consistently good quality work, some people may hate to love you, but they end up loving you anyhow. Some may love to love you, some may hate to love you, but if you put up consistently good work, you are that go-to person that the team can always rely on to bail out the team, to do. Your boss knows they can rely on you to do the work. Invariably, invariably, you will position yourself, rightly. You can either be an active player in the office politics, a passive player. You can either be a victim or a victor. For me, in my career, I have chosen the path of being a passive player, but also, to be a victor. You make sure that, I work, the consistency of the character and, this thing position me by and large on the winning side. Sometimes, and that's the reality of life. Life is about ups and downs. Sometimes, even with the best of skill and being a child of God, you can occasionally find yourself seemingly on the losing side. But once you stay true to who you are in God, those, low times don't last. Invariably, God, shows up for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that question, for that answer, rather. And I noticed something that's really clear, and I really want to throw this to the audience. Like, you see two very successful people who have thrived in their career. They pretty much reached the peak of their career. But there's something consistent that you guys have mentioned, and it's pretty much values. So I'm sending a message to like our community. Values really does matter in this generation. It does matter in your career, and it pretty much matters in life. So let's take a really huge cue from that. So I got this question from YouTube. By the way, we're live on YouTube as well. So it's both platforms we're running asynchronously. So the question says, can you be aware but not get into the thick of politics? So pretty much asking, can I know that this is happening in my organization? It pretty much might come close to me every now and then, but how can I like pull myself out? And I'd also like to ask a question and say, is there a way you can stand independently and not be involved in any of it, knowing fully well that it might affect your progress or your career trajectory? So is it something that you both have seen in your careers, or something that you might have heard, or something that you have even handled? Pastor Funke, I'll take you first. Just want to know your thoughts on that.
Look, I think, again, different levels call for different kinds of involvement, right? As Pastor Ben said, you can be passively involved and you can be very actively involved. But I think that at some levels, when you're coming up, right, you can pretty much stay out of the fray. You know, at some levels, when you get to the top, your involvement is probably a bit more open or apparent to people, right? Because you're at senior level. But I think that what is important for you to do is that be you, right? And be on the right side, right? Now, it may be, you know, people may think office politics is all about, you know, being, playing the games, you know, being mischievous or fighting dirty. That's not always the case, right? Because again, you know, you're trying to build the organization, build yourself, and and have some power and influence, right? But it starts by being you. So if you don't need to be actively involved, it's better to always be passively involved. You know, don't put your head out there. And what I mean is, for instance, let's say two people are, you know, they're fighting, quote unquote, for lack of a better word. You're vying for the same position, right? And then you like one. The one you like is a Christian, you know, has the same core values, and these other one. And then you go out and maybe smear the other person. That is playing politics, but you're doing something wrong. But the way you could be active is just by somebody asks you, oh, well, you know, this is my view based on this and this and this. I believe this person, you can speak your mind freely, even if you're not in the vote, you're not on the board, so you don't have to vote for anybody. But if you stop yourself when you go into getting dirty. So yes, you can be involved in politics, office politics in some ways, in speaking the truth, in strengthening, in praying for the person that you believe is better. Even maybe in communicating with them, like, look, I'm praying for you because I believe that you're this person, right? And supporting them, helping them to win, right? To get that position if you can, doing a good work for them, supporting them with good information that they need so that they can shine, and then so that your side, quote unquote, can win. So I think those are some ways that you can be passively active, as opposed to being out there and going around. Some people always do things like, they want somebody, so they go out there, they go to their homes, they become so much a part of their lives because they are playing the office politics. They carry their wives, they do things for their children and do all these things. I think that is too much. I think for a child of God, first do your work, speak the truth, stay true, be consistent. And if you find someone that you like what they do, there are ways that you can support them without, be appearing that you are fighting the other side. Because don't ever forget that anything can change in any situation. So the person you think may be the forefront can actually lose another person, and then you've made an enemy. So that's why don't be too overt.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ma'am. And that brings me to a question that I think, Pastor Ben, you'd be like super great in addressing it. And it says, which is because you work in the public sector now. It says, I work in the federal ministry. Most times our salaries are delayed. And to be honest, I skipped that part. My colleagues have found many ways to milk the system, such as documenting fake trainings to collect allowances. They are doing well and don't even feel the pinch when salaries are delayed. But clearly not all of us do that. I want to make an honest living, but since salaries are delayed for months, is it so bad? And this question doesn't say, is it bad? You're asking to a bit of an extent, is it so bad to join in milking the system because he thinks it's unfair? So I think this is more of an ethical question, which brings me to why I'm asking this. And knowing that you are in the public sector, it would be also great, Pastor Ben, if you could share your personal experience on if you have encountered this and how you would really more take this on if you were in his shoes. And Pastor Ben, you're on mute. If you don't mind unmuting yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Essentially, okay, as I said, all of my time in the public sector, all of my time in the public sector has been as a political appointee. Mm-hmm. So I have come in, I got into the public sector at the top, so to say. My first job in the public sector was as commissioner, okay? And in Lagos State, I held, a very influential position as Commissioner of Economic Planning and Budget. The Commissioner of Economic Planning and Budget in Lagos State cabinet is usually labeled as the headmaster of the cabinet. You're the one controlling the purse. You're the one, saying what can be done, what can't be done, money can be spent on, money can't be spent on, and whatever. So I haven't been in the sort of career situation where some people been in, where they say in their department, someone. So I just want to put this out there to make, so, I probably haven't experienced, in such affect terms what is in, because in my role as the commissioner in my ministry, I could pretty much set out the rules about how things happen here. Yeah. And now in my job as Director General Budget Office of, I could, set out the, the rules. But at the end of the day, as we said earlier, we are Christians.
That's true.
Okay. And therefore, there is no situation that we are exposed to that can justify sinning or doing wrong. So the only question, and I think that whoever asks this question really knows what the answer is.
That's true.
The only question really is whether this is right or wrong from the perspective of Scripture. Okay, God's word is not contextual. It doesn't change by circumstances. So if it is wrong to receive bribe, and the Bible says so, then there can be no justification for it, whether or not you say your salaries have been delayed or not. And by the way, salary delay is some peculiarity of the public sector that is. I mean, when I first joined government, even at the level that I joined as Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Lagos State, it took 4.5 months for my name to get onto the payroll. So for the first 4.5 months, I didn't get any pay. I couldn't understand it. It didn't make any sense to me. And so, given my position, I set out to say, how can we fix the system such that, people coming later don't have to say. I don't think that I succeeded in eliminating the delay completely by the time that I left, but we tried to contain it. And then I joined the federal government. And lo and behold, it was the same thing. No, in fact, no, Lagos State took 3.5 months. And I thought, wow, this is terrible. When I joined the federal government, it now took 4.5 months for my name to get on the payroll. And guess what? Along the line, at some point, something happened. There was a glitch, and my name got off the payroll. And for 7 months, I wasn't getting paid. I had to go to God in repentance, because before I joined the government, I used to hear stories about people not getting paid and they were still at work. And I used to say, not just to myself, I used to say it openly that if anybody didn't get paid for 2 months and they showed up again in the 3rd month, they must be stealing money. So when I was confronted with this situation and I kept going back, I kept reminding myself, they used to say this. So are you now stealing money? So I had to go to God and repent that there can indeed be circumstances, and it's terrible. In fact, I had served notice then that if by the end of the 7th month I didn't get paid, I was walking off the job. And that's when they pulled all the whatever to make sure that I got paid. But I could do so, at my my level. So, bottom line is, God has made us a promise as His own people that our needs, He will satisfy our needs. It says, according to His riches in glory through Christ Jesus. Not according to the circumstances of economy or whatever. So it's great to have a job, and God wants us to work. We've got to present to Him the work of our hands. He says, you prosper the works of our hands. Our hands must work. Indeed, the Bible goes as far as saying, he who does not work should not eat. But if you are in a job where your pay isn't meeting your needs, the solution is not to join them in doing evil. The solution is to find another means of income that is not inconsistent with, that does not put you in a conflict of interest situation, and ask God to bless that work of your hands. And you'll be amazed how God is listening. When we stand up for God, God stands for us.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we have time, because I can share personal examples where
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. And really, something I learned from that is there's this ideology that, or this fast life with, let me not say my generation. So it's just a lesson and a learning for everyone out there. Because you don't know the day they're going to catch you. So you don't want to be caught in that mix. So please just stay away, remain true to yourself, and continue.
No. Sorry, Joy. You know, when you put it that way, even if they never catch you,
yeah, your conscience.
But there's one who sees
Absolutely.
all that you do in secret, and that's the one that our accountability as believers is to.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So Pastor Funke, we've taken a bit of the public sector and how you can handle office politics over there. So I want to step a bit into bureaucracy. And with your experience in the public sector, I know you're like the perfect person to take on this question. So it says, I'm a contractor at a government agency. There have been so many instances where I was qualified to get jobs, but those contracts somehow got awarded to other companies. I was recently told by staff that I had to do PR to get a certain job and that he can help me with it. This will involve padding the contract to accommodate the people we have to settle. How do I handle such situations without compromising my faith? Pastor Funke?
All right. Well, yeah, I know that exists, right? And people do things like that. As a Christian, of course, you cannot, because it's bribery.
Yes.
And we're not supposed to give or take bribes, right? As Christians. It's very tough, I must say. I say to myself now, as an independent businesswoman, I really don't even try to go for government jobs, period. But when I was in the organization that I was in, what we did was to avoid things like that. What I did was to basically put processes in place and automate the process. But even then, you would still find, people would complain to you as the CEO that, such and such happened. But it's really, really tough. And I think it's because it's an acceptable, it's been accepted as part of our system. Yeah. That's the truth. It's been accepted that it's part of the system. So if you are, if you want to be a government contractor, that you have to do these things. If you're blessed to be in an organization where the leadership is strict, then you're going to, it won't be an issue for you. I went to minister in a Redeemed Church many years ago. And when I finished and I was leaving, one person came out and says, I've got to say something before this woman leaves. And she says, I've been a contractor in Abuja for many years. And this is the first time, when I went to this lady's organization, it was the first time that I could get that job done without knowing anybody. So let me just say this, because I'm not sure there's anything really that anybody can do. But for those of us who are in the system and we're rising, you can, at some level, if you're like CEO or you get to very top level, you can put some things in place. For instance, in accounts payable, we had systems where it monitored, how long the payables took. So if you went too fast or too late, then the person that in charge, the manager of the accounts payable section, had to explain, right? And, but for you that's coming in to do government job, I think a lot of prayers, also make sure that your bid, because you've got to keep putting those bids in. Make sure that your bids are the best that they can be. But that there may not be something, I think it's just prayers, a favor from God. But you cannot do it, So I would say look for alternative ways. Maybe sometimes some of these donor organizations like USA, like the Euro community, they do things where it's more strict, but there are much more stringent qualifications required. And I know one of our pastors in Abuja Church, he does a lot there, but they don't have to bribe, but they go through very, very stringent, conditions, and those are easier. I don't know if there's really much that can be done. Keep putting them in, keep praying, and keep really hoping. But I know that like sometimes some of the big budget items, they already have like this person is involved, this person is involved. So look for the smaller ones and work your way through. Continue to develop the expertise in bidding, and then look for other opportunities in some of these foreign aid organizations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pastor Funke. There's a lesson that we can take from there, and I'm hoping that we all apply into it. So I want to go. This is it's a sensitive question, but I know it's something that's very, very it's super common in both the public sector and the private sector. I know I also have experienced it, and it's the very heavy word of tribalism. So how would you say we can handle tribal conflicts in the organization, especially when we know that there's this saying that you're not from my tribe, you can't get promoted, you're not from my tribe, we can't award you with this. How do you maintain first of all, the Christian stance, and also first the professional stance, and how do you just navigate around this? Pastor Ben, do you want to take this first, and I'll take Pastor Funke?
Well, thank you, but let me just tag on something to what Pastor Funke said in response to the earlier question. Oftentimes, I don't know why it is, but in Nigeria, once people think government, they think contracts. And when they think contracts, they think government.
Yeah.
But what is the reality? The reality is that the aggregate expenditure in this economy, governments, all of the governments put together, federal, state, and local governments, spend less than 15% of the aggregate expenditure. This is a 180 trillion naira economy. All of the governments put together add up their budgets is less than 15% of that. Therefore, there is at least 85% of activities in this economy that don't involve government.
Yeah.
So I say to people that if I leave government, I'm not sure I'm going to want to be a government contractor based on what I have seen. And as Pastor Funke said, it's a tough system to reform. You can do so within your own organization, but holistically, it's tough. It's a system that is so rooted, and even Christians within those organizations. I've got Christians in my organization, come to me and try to justify those actions by saying, this is how we pay our children's school fees. We are not well paid. And I said, excuse me, how does, the need to pay your children's school fees become a justification for evil? I mean, I had to, I had heard about some things. I got some reports about some things around procurement. And so I summoned the senior officers in my organization. And I said, look, I've heard so and so and so. And I looked at them. I said, have you wondered why, it is rare to see, a retired civil servant who starts a business and makes a success of it? And they're looking at me. I said, I'll tell you why. I said, some of you spend 35 years in your career sowing evil into people's businesses. And you leave and you go and start your own, and you think the God of justice will, will watch and see you succeed in your own. I said, the principle of, sowing and reaping is an eternal one. All the evil you're sowing into people's businesses now, frustrating people, making all of this, whatever, it's going to be waiting for you to reap when you leave this place. But as I said, you try right now. I have a stalemate, and that's whatever in my own whatever, because some of my officials insist that resisting that in other places, the work is shared among the senior people, and I'm insisting on putting it all out there for the public to whatever to bid. And I've asked them, some of you, because the people who have left have been in this place for 5.5 years, and I've seen the ones who have retired. They keep coming back for help, that they want, can I get to this thing? And my question is always, while you were in service, you thought the right thing was for those of you in service to corner everything. Now you're out of service and you're coming back expecting to get. So if the people who are here have cornered everything to themselves, as you advocated, what will there be for you to say? So it's just, it's a tough whatever, but for the believer, if you can't find, before you participate in any whatever, do your homework. Know whether this is a place where there is any scope for anybody who plays by the rules. And one guide is look at the top of the organization. Who is the person at the top? Usually, what happens will reflect, to a significant extent, the values of the person who is at the top. If it's not, just move on and don't, waste your time. But joining them, always remember, it's not an option for you. And then, you asked about the tribal thing.
Yes,
I mean, for us as believers, again, it goes down to our values. For us, we are tribe blind. As believers, you must be tribe blind. You must be race blind. You must, if you're still first an Igbo man before you are a Christian, and which is part of the challenge of Nigerian Christianity.
That's true.
Many of us are too, locked in with our tribes. We are first of all, our tribesmen before we are believers. But, in the kingdom of God, there's neither Jew nor Greek. There's no place for that. And that has to be this thing. And I've, in my own whatever, I've often seen you get to an organization and the people from your tribe, they rally around and thinking, our man is here. So whatever. And sometimes, very often, there's a frustration that, this what kind of man is he? Doesn't even have time for his tribesmen. He's not, whatever. And some people, once all you have to offer is, you are my tribesman.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with you.
Thank you, Pastor Ben. Pastor Bonke, you want to take on the tribal questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to dive right in. Oh, look, for a CEO, or because usually CEO level, that you get to have the influence to be able to play tribal card games, right? If your preoccupation is to succeed, right? You're not going to care who helps you to succeed, right? So it's not going to bother you if you're at least a wise CEO, a wise leader. You're not going to care if it is an Igbo man or a Yoruba man or a Shekiri man or a Fulani man that helps you. What you're looking for is the best. You're looking for the best. And also, if you're a Christian, you're looking for the values of fairness. How do you play fair when you put people in there that weren't qualified? And for me, it's even foolish. If I cannot surround myself with people who can help me to succeed, then why am I there? It's a losing game. And I'm a very competitive person, right? I really want to win. I really want to make a difference anywhere that I'm at. So it doesn't bother me, and I think that's what we all need to put our minds to. If I get my king and I fail, what good have I done to my king's men? What good? If I failed as a Yoruba person, how do other Yoruba people have the opportunity? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To come to the top, and they have the opportunity to win. Yeah, to have the opportunity to even play in the game. So it shouldn't matter if you're Yoruba or Igbo or Hausa or whatever. What should drive us is the qualification of the people and their core values. So for me, that's what matters. I honestly, really, really, really believe two things: core values first, competency second. And that for me, that's it. So I think for all the rising leaders,
Yes.
all the rising leaders, whether you're junior management, your middle management, your senior management, please look for people who will help you succeed. At the end of the day, that's why you're in that position. Because if you fail, your townspeople will move to the next person who comes. They're not going to be there with you just because you give them the opportunity. But if you succeed, then everybody wins. So look for the people who are going to make you a success.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I like how you both answer the question from two very different perspectives, but we're all touching on the same point. Pastor Ben said, as Christians, we must be race blind. And Pastor Funke, you're saying that competency should matter to you, and the value that you want for your organization should stand above every other thing. So my community, you've heard it. You have to like keep my dad used to say something, and he says up until now that a good name is better than anything that you would ever achieve. And how do you maintain that good name? And which brings me to my next question. You both have risen to the peak of your careers. You are still rising. What were some of the tips that or the nuggets that you held very closely to you that contributed to your growth and your progress in your careers? And Pastor Funke, I'll go with you first, then we round off with Pastor Ben.
Okay, fantastic. Listen, hard work works. We, as Christians, I'm sorry to say this, but we have this, God will give you the opportunity. God will not come and do the work for you. Last night at 11:30, I was working with my personal assistant. My sister who was visiting came and said, "You guys are still working." Yes. You have to work hard. We have this idea that just putting a little bit, and then that's it. You've got to work hard. God created hard work. The first man, the first thing he gave him was work. You've got to work. Number two, you have to be smart, right? Not just work smartly. Work smartly. It's so important for us to work, but work smartly. In other words, we need to be strategic. We need to be strategic in our work.
No, Pastor Ben, you can go on. You can go on. Pastor Ben, are you
okay? All right. So we need to be strategic. So hard work, strategy, right? Another one is relationships. You've got to be a person that maintains relationships. And what I mean is sometimes people get to think that, if I can just work hard and if I can work smart, then I can treat everybody bad. That doesn't work. Because no matter how smart you are and how hardworking you are, you need people. So treat people well. Build relationships. Some of the best opportunities I've had over the years, in my career has been relationships, right? You maintain, treat people well. That's just what I'm saying. Treat people well. People matter. If you cannot rise if you don't treat people well, right? So work hard, be strategic, work smart, maintain good relationships. In other words, treat your people well. Whether you're on top, whether you're on the same level with you, whether they're higher than you, you must maintain good relationships. And of course, let God guide you. Let God guide you. Let God guide your decisions, right? I see people change jobs because of money. I don't know about them, but I change jobs because I sense it's time to move. I change jobs, honestly, when I believe it's time to move. And because I'm always putting my career before God, invariably, God will always let me know in some ways. I've never moved. Even when I was leaving government, I knew it was time, apart from the fact that, but my time, I knew. So you've got to allow God as a Christian to drive you. Is this the right place to go? Am I going in the right place? Don't put money before what saith the Lord to you concerning this time. It's too key. As God told you, it's time to move. And where? Right? If you have that knowing, when you face challenges in the job, then you know that God asked you to come here. Then you know you need to persevere, because He will supply the grace for you to persevere and get through. Because at every level, as they say, there are new devils that are waiting to challenge you. But those challenges are for good. They're to make you better.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Fuge. That was truly golden. And I really like how you emphasize. I don't know if you did it intentionally, where you place competence like before like relationship and a bunch of others, but I really I like how you emphasize on competence, because we do see a lot of people these days just thinking that, okay, a couple of classes on YouTube makes me the most experienced person. I really wanted to just jump across the ladder. I once heard, let me not say his age, but I once heard someone who pretty much got out of school and said his aspiration was to become a creative director like that year of finishing school. So please, let's yes, super surprising. Like let's really take a lot of time to be competent and master our skills as we progress in our career. And Pastor Ben, you want to share tips and nuggets on how you have risen in your career?
Yes. So two things that like to, and I'll do so pretty much by sharing a bit of my personal stories. The first is, as a believer, and for me, there's something called delayed gratification. Okay, delayed gratification. As Funke said, don't put money front and center of your decisions. Okay, when I decided to switch careers from auditing and consulting to banking, at that point, when I joined Citibank, I had an option to join. This was back in 1988. To join either as a deputy manager in financial control, which was my area of competence. That's what I'd been working at in the 5 years of my career, the first 5 years with Pricewaterhouse. Or if I wanted to join corporate banking, which was my desire, I would have to come in as assistant manager. You wouldn't believe this, but I made the choice to go in as assistant manager. One step lower, which meant less money. As an investment in my career, I realized that if you join the bank as financial control, your path to the top of the organization was limited.
Yeah.
You're in a service area, not the core function of the bank. And so if I had joined as deputy manager, I would have started out earning more money, but maybe I would never have reached the top of my career as CEO of a bank. So we've got to embrace this thing of delayed gratification. Don't put money in center of everything. Again, during the I link this up to relationship, which as Funke spoke about. How did I get into the public sector? It was never part of my career plan to work in the public sector. Indeed, 1 year before I decided to join Lagos State government. I had been I'd been offered the position of Commissioner for Finance in Anambra State government, and I turned it down because I didn't feel that was where God was leading me. 1 year later, I was invited by Tinubu to join his own cabinet, and I accepted. But how did Tinubu, I'm an Igbo man, I'm not from Lagos State. And there was no president. And Iboman had never served in the cabinet of Lagos. So it wasn't something that could be part of your ambition because it didn't happen. And I didn't know it could happen. So clearly it wasn't part of my, but what was it? Late in the 1980s, and / early 90s, I was, as you know, a relationship manager in Citibank. I was the relationship manager for mobile at the time when Tinubu was treasurer for mobile. And back in those days, mobile had at least 50 bankers because you had to have many banks like that, especially Mobile Oil, where he was, for you to be able to access foreign exchange and whatever. It would seem to be getting back to those days now, And he dealt with many relationship managers. But with every sense of knowledge, I say this, he found something. He found a degree of diligence and honesty, a combination of diligence and honesty, me as a relationship manager, that he didn't find in the other relationship managers. I never cut a deal, never acquired any whatever, honest. And so, he needed someone, that he could trust to join the cabinet. He turned to me and said, I didn't apply for the job. There was no advert. He called me and, he said to me, and why don't you join my cabinet now that you've left banking? And when I joined, it was about the time that, he had just fallen out with his deputy governor then. And so he couldn't trust. He wanted to free himself up to be able to focus on politics. And when I joined, he transferred his approving authority to me, delegated his authority to. I was the one who was giving approvals and notifying him about whatever, that degree of trust. This was based on an investment that I had made in terms of, actor and whatever, 16, 17 years ago, before that time, that now came to pay off. So it feeds back to the point I'm making about delayed gratification. And that's how I entered, the public sector. So we must, the other comment I wanted to make is always involve God in your career choices. And Pastor Funke said that earlier on. In 1996, I interviewed for the position of executive director in Nile Merchant Bank then. There were 8 of us. They had mandated a consulting firm to do this. And of the 8 people, I came tops and I was recommended. At the last moment, somebody in the board said, this man is too young to come and be executive director here. Let's reduce the offer to him, the general manager. We'll let him come in and prove himself for some time before so they called me and they told me that. I said, I'm sorry, you can keep the job. And then, UBA showed up and offered me the job of deputy general manager. I accepted the UBA offer. After I'd accepted the UBA offer, now came back and said, okay, we now accept for you to come as executive director. This was 1996. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm a Christian. Even though you're offering me a higher position, I've given my word to UBA. I've told them I'll accept the offer. I was coming. And integrity demands that I keep my word. So I'm not going to. I'm sorry. So again, I passed off that, higher offer to go, to be EGM because I took a position in my faith that I'm a Christian. I've given my word. Guess what? I took up the job in UBA. But because that job, that position in now, God had put that position for me. For 2 years after, this was a job. Remember, there were 8 of us who competed for this. And so there was not a shortage of people who were interested in the position. For the 2 years after, now struggle to fill that position and they couldn't. 2 years down the road, I had a chance meeting with the MD. We just happened to have attended the same event and we were leaving about the same time. As we stood waiting for our cars, he pulled me to the side and said, Ben, is there a chance you're still interested in this position? I said, I can't explain it. For 2 years now, since we've been trying to fill this position, but somehow we haven't been able to, at the last moment, something will fall, falls apart. Said in the next 2 weeks, the board is meeting to make a decision on this. Is there a chance you're interested? Because if you are, I will go with your name rather than the name that we're taking to the board in 2 weeks' time. And I said, okay, I'll get back to you. And I asked God, and God said, yes, go for it. I got back to the MD, I said, I will. And 2 weeks later, I don't know who it was, that they were going to this thing. And even after I became CEO, I never bothered to figure out why. For me, God has said he will give, the life of the hidden a ransom for our own life. So if he took their job and gave me not a big deal. But the point is, God held, I know it was God that restrained them from filling that position, because this was a position that then for me, someone played the agent, the devil's agent at the last moment, tried to spoil it. The stance that I took, point of integrity, to say I'm a Christian. I've given these people my word while you people were dilly-dallying, and I was not going to. It counted for something, must have counted for something in God's thing. And God just kept that job for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Pastor Ben, that is really phenomenal. I think you have everyone speechless. Just really understanding your journey, and we're glad to see that all of your principles, your values have paid off. Pastor Funke, you as well. We're so glad to see all of your principles and value paying off. And thank you guys for being really awesome role models for us, and knowing that if we indeed stand our ground and keep to our words and just really be Christians in this very tough society, there definitely is light at the end of the tunnel. So we are intentionally way past time, and I want to thank you both for joining us in this session. I think it's exceeded my expectations. I put it at a 90, but I know we're somewhere around 150. So thank you both for joining us on time and just being open and sharing all of this nuggets. It's been a privilege having you both on board, and we are delighted to have you guys, and we hope that for future events where we reach out, you will be available once again to give us all of these nuggets to keep progressing as a community. But it truly has been awesome. So thank you so much, guys. So for our speakers, feel free to hop off, because we do have a giveaway for our community. If you do want to stay on board, that would be cool. But otherwise, you have done us well, and then we can definitely send you on your way. But it truly has been a pleasure. And if you have any last words, Pastor Funke, you would just take any last words, and after that, we'll take Pastor Ben as well. Pastor Funke, any well wishes?
All right. Oh yeah, I mean, thank you again. It's been awesome. It's been really wonderful to share some of my thoughts on this subject. And just to do I think my closing words would be consistency matters.
Yeah.
Right? Consistency matters. Be the same person now that you were, and you continue to be that consistent Christian. Put your core values first. Continue to work hard. Continue to work smart. Develop your skills. Keep relationships, and above all else, follow God. He will never ever lead you wrong. So I wish everybody well, and we hope to be seeing you guys and the next leaders that will be guiding our industries and hopefully our nation, because we dire need of Christian leaders that know their onions. So thank you very much. And it's been Pastor Ben. Thank you so much for sharing this platform. I'm very honored to be here with you as well. God bless you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Pastor Funke. We are delighted as well. And yes, we are the young leaders that are going to take off this nation real soon. And of course, the industry is real soon. Pastor Ben, any closing words you would like to share?
Well, I think, Joy, I'm not sure whether you are following the comments in the chat box.
Yes, I am.
But I think Major Jean is not really very pleased. He says there are things that haven't been covered, and he wants he wants the opportunity to be able to forward questions to the speakers. I can share my email address, and if the things he wants me to provide further guidance on, because our time is spent, I will do so. But again, let me say how is I am, and please, subject to ability of time, it's my pleasure to, I consider this part of my ministerial calling, to be able to mentor the next generation of believers, those after us. We have been privileged to have in our own mentors like Dr. Keon Nuzo, who held our hands, still holds our hands till now, and we and who's that's what drives him, trying to mentor the next. We must pass the torch on. And what I would say to people is, look, without a doubt, Nigeria is a tough place to be a Christian.
Yes.
Okay. However, it doesn't change. There are no different standards of Christianity for the Nigerian Christian and for any other Christian. So, however we push back, we cannot, there's nothing about Nigeria that God doesn't know, that surprises him. And yet he hasn't lowered or varied the standard for the Nigerian believer. And so it's us that must, rise to the bar. But one thing that I hope I'm able to communicate is that holding on to your Christian beliefs, they pay in the long run. And as I talked about the principle of delayed gratification, you've got to have an eternal perspective to life. When you look at the now, many of the decisions and choices you have to make as a believer may not make sense to you. Look, I was CEO of the bank till December 2005. As CEO of the bank, by December 2005, I didn't own my own home in Lagos. It seemed like, seriously, you're MD of a bank and I'd been MD for 5.5 years. You don't own your own home. But guess what? In 2006, when it was time for us to build, it only took 6 months. God provided the resources. And in 6 months, we built our own home in Lagos. So don't get into this. A lot of this, sometimes we put ourselves in this whatever where we are, put ourselves in place where we're, then forced to make, compromises. God has got our back. If you're on God's side, you must believe that God is on your side and that his thoughts towards you are thoughts of peace, not of evil. There's a future and a hope that he has out there for you. You've got to trust in that, thing. But I'll leave it at that and say thank you again. Thank you, Pastor Funke, for the privilege of the invitation, and to the organizers, and for the privilege of sharing this platform with you. But I'll type my email address to Omeje in the chat box, so he can feel free to get in touch with with whatever further. And so the dialogue, can continue beyond this platform.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. It really was a privilege. I see people asking for part 2. We'll definitely put this into consideration and reach out to our speakers sometime in the future. Thank you so much. I can't keep telling you guys thank you. It truly is an honor. And that's a wrap for the virtual session. We will just kick off with our giveaway right now. Please be on the lookout look to your screen so that you know if you are a recipient of our giveaway. And
all right, bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Goodbye, sir. And then we will definitely be reaching out to you once you respond to us with your details. So we're going to do a quick spin the wheel, and please know that this spin the wheel is strictly for those who registered, pre-registered for this event. We made quite an emphasis for you guys to pre-register. So please, if you did register for the event, your name would be on this wheel. And then once I spin the wheel, as it goes, you would be a selected winner. So we have already picked a winner. I'll definitely be reaching out to her once we end this session. We have 3 more prizes to go. We have 2 5,000 Naira vouchers, which can be credited to your account if you desire. And we have an AirPod that can be gifted to you so far you're based in Lagos. So I would just do that spin the wheel right now and select our other 3 winners. So this is for the 5,000 Naira voucher. And may the best woman or man win. And I think we have a winner. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tunji Fatoko. You have been selected a winner. I'll be in contact with you in the next 30 minutes to get your details and credit you with that amount. And then we hope you have an exciting weekend. For the other 5,000 Naira voucher, our recipient is going to be beautiful. Ebube Chukwu, you have been selected to win the 5,000 Naira voucher. I would also be in contact with you via email, so please be on the lookout for my email. If you don't see it in your inbox, you can check the spam or promotions folder. We hear sometimes our inbox slides and sneaks into those folders, so please check that and be sure to respond to me with your details latest today. We have one more spin the wheel activity to go, and that would be for one lucky participant to win an AirPod that I have in my possession that can be delivered to you so far you're based in Lagos. So may the best man or woman win. Congratulations, Solulade. You have been selected to win the AirPods. I will definitely be in contact with you via email. So please check your promotions and spam folders for my email. It will come from the League of Young Professionals, not my personal email. So be sure to look out for that today. And then we'll definitely be in contact with you to get your address and have that sent to you before the end of next week. So guys, it has been a fantastic series, and we're delighted to have you guys on board and join us for all of our 4 sessions. It's not over until they say it's over. But I guess this is the end for the virtual series for this year. We would be having a physical event that would happen next month. So once again, we promise to always be in touch with you via email or phone or text or however, or social media. To join our community and be part of our community, please follow us on Instagram at TLYP-FOTA, and then you'd be sure to be part of all of our exciting sessions, giveaways, and the daily nuggets that we share right on that platform. It's been an awesome 4 months, and you guys have made it all happen. But I don't want to say all good things must come to an end, but sadly, we have to bring an end to this session. We successfully did an hour 20 minutes, which I think is perfect and great. But otherwise, it's goodbye from Joy in Lagos, and we look forward to seeing you for future events and engagements. Yes, have a great one, and goodbye, everyone. Thank you.